What up, salespreneurs? Today, we are going to meet with the founder of a company who's going viral on LinkedIn. But before we do, I want to share an exciting opportunity with you that involves a former guest on the show and one of my favorite businesses right now, Hunter Deskin. He went from making 30K a year as an SDR to 30K a month by becoming a contract SDR. And in other words, he's a fractional SDR. He works with multiple companies at one time, booking meetings. So he shared his story a lot on LinkedIn and is helping to make others make the jump by launching his first cohort on July 16th. So if you're an SDR that's hitting 100, 120%, 150% of your quota each month, I highly recommend checking out the link in the show notes. Just remember, your tech and sales IQ is much higher than the average SMB that's selling business to business. You're already doing this on a daily basis in your role. And Hunter has an amazing training, and he's already been lining people up with some pretty killer opportunities, helping them make money. So check out the link. It starts on July 16th. But let's jump into today's show. First off, I want to mention that my mic did not connect to the laptop on this one, so the audio is a bit off. But Troy's story is too good not to share. A couple months back, right before they launched, we had him on the show. But Troy Munson is bootstrapping a startup called Dimmo while being a full-time AE at Proofpoint on the enterprise side. Dimmo has gained massive traction through his LinkedIn presence because it helps buyers watch demos without the full sales cycles. They've had tons of companies with interest and buyers as well. Excited for you guys to check it out and hear his story today.
Hey there. I want to thank everyone for tuning in on my journey, finding and connecting with sales reps turned entrepreneurs. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the newsletter in the show notes. While you're down there, drop a 5-star review. Today, we have a familiar face to B2B sellers on LinkedIn, Troy Munson. Troy, stoked to have you here, man.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Troy, for people that aren't on LinkedIn or first time meeting you, can you give us a quick intro?
Yeah, so I'm Troy. I'm an enterprise seller at Proofpoint, which is a cybersecurity company. But on the side, I just have this crazy, annoying passion for building things. So I've built a few things, and I don't think that'll go away anytime soon. It drives my wife nuts, but that's all right. That's what I do. I sell stuff and I build stuff on the side.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I've been following you on LinkedIn. I know you post a ton. You're obviously working on Dimmo right now, which is coming out soon. But I'm super curious just to hear about your history in sales and kind of some of the side hustles you've already had. I know that you had two that you said you exited. Maybe that's a good jumping off point.
Yeah. So I'll get started, I guess, by how I'll get started with the two that exited. So I've done 4 total things, but the first one was more services based. So as soon as COVID hit, and it's actually the same thing that I post now actually on LinkedIn, is like creative outreach, how to get outbound meetings, stuff like that. So as soon as COVID hit, I was doing these 3 specific techniques that were just consistently generating meetings. And I was like, wait a second, why is nobody else doing this? So I just said, screw it. Let me go see if I can go sell to Series A, Series B companies, and just say, hey, I can help you book more meetings. I did that, but then I realized that if you're doing a training sort of company, services based, like you can't do that with the full-time job. It's just way too time consuming. So the first one was services. The second one is the first one that I sold, and it was called Vocal. And I actually like to explain it as like an OnlyFans for business professionals. So if you think of the Grant Cardones and Gary Vaynerchuk's of the world, my whole thing was I was going to get into flipping houses, but I needed to take a course. I had zero knowledge of it. So I was looking at courses. They were like $2,000 or $3,000, and I was like, why can't I just tell this guy how much money I have, where I'm at financially, like what I want to do, like chat with him for 10 minutes and just pay him for that time. So I ended up building a platform that allowed you to just connect with these business influencers for a certain amount of time that you wanted to, 5, 10, 30, 40 minutes, whatever you wanted to do. It sucked. I outsourced it. I spent a little bit of money. Everyone was giving me like 70K quotes. One person gave me a 12K quote to build it. And I was like, yeah, let's go with that guy. And it sucked. It didn't work. But I found somebody. But we ended up getting 11 different people on it that had like 27 million followers total. And so it was enough to actually find a company that wanted to buy it so they could have those connections. And then the last thing that I sold was referral. Essentially, it was just a B2B referral program, connects to your CRM. It connects to essentially like a payment method, so you can just automate referrals, the outreach, the payments, the analytics, the tracking, and that way you don't have to rely on sales reps to go ask for a referral to someone else. You can easily just have somebody submit a referral in their email, and that's what I built out, and I sold that recently. So those are the things that I've done, and then of course I'm working on Dimmo, but those are the two things that I did prior.
Interesting. So with Vocal, did you have any cool celebrities or business influencers that you were able to connect with and pitched on?
Yeah, so I had a couple. One of them is a very controversial guy. He was an MLB player. Aubrey Huff was one of them. And if you don't know Aubrey Huff, don't look him up. He's crazy. But there was that, and then there was God, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. He owns a sports agency. It's David Meltzer. David Meltzer was on it, and then there was a couple of people from LinkedIn on it, like Bilal. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Trawi is what my guess would be. I'm trying to think of who else. And then we had several. Do you know him?
No. Okay, I think I saw you post about this on LinkedIn, or maybe it was on another podcast where you talked about launching the app and it didn't work or something.
Yeah. So again, I was like broke. I was like, this is my first sales gig that I had. And I built this on the side. It was $12,000. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to spend all my money because I think this idea is great. And now there is a company called Intro doing the same exact thing, and they're worth millions and millions. But yeah, as soon as we launched, we had people like these people were shouting it out all over Instagram. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people go on launch day, but no one could book a time. The payment method didn't work. Everything sucked. And they told me that it was going to be $30,000 to fix it. And I was like, I don't have that. So I had to go find a way to just sell the platform. But yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That's cool. And so you had Vocal, you had Referral, which is another business that you started, exited it. Tell me about Dimmo.
So Dimmo, it's going in tons of different directions right now. Dimmo right now is, the idea was, how do we make a YouTube for SaaS? And now it's more so, how do we make a TikTok for SaaS evaluations, essentially. And so that's what it is. This has by far been the most successful. So each one has been like a stepping stone to more success. So Referral, we were able to get 12 annual customers. We were really profitable. It just was buggy, and it was full SaaS. So I had to go and prospect. I had to go and do implementation. I had to go and do onboarding and be the support ticket guy to go relay it to my co-founder. Sorry, my dog's tripping out. You're going to edit this, right? I'm just going to close my door.
Yeah.
So, what did I say? Sorry about that. He would just call.
No, you just said Dimmo's going in a lot of different directions.
And then
TikTok for SaaS.
Yeah. And then I said referral. Crap. Hold on. I can't remember that. I literally just talked about referral. My dog distracted me. I knew he was going to if I let him in here. But we'll get back into Dimmo. So these have been like stepping stones to success. So each one has done more revenue. And Dimmo today has done business with 38 different companies, which is really good. I'm actually shocked that we've done that much. It was only an idea 4 months ago. And so that's where it's at today. And we're just hoping to essentially help people go evaluate technology. Like when you think about it, millennials are stepping into the buying process a lot more now, and give it 5 years and they're going to be the buyers. And they like videos, they like TikTok, they like YouTube, they like Instagram, like they like things like that. So the idea is to make evaluation self-service. And then when a buyer is ready, they'd come inbound, and then they're ready to go talk to a sales rep. So YouTube for SaaS technologies, essentially.
I think this is an interesting topic right now because I know a lot of people are trying to find less and less ways to talk with a sales rep and more ways to do stuff on their own. In fact, I feel like I've had friends who've told me about similar ideas to what Dimmo is, where it'd be cool if somebody could just have a pitch fest where people just go and watch a bunch of demos versus having to meet with sales reps. Is that kind of the premise of it? Or how did you kind of come up with the idea?
So we started with Dimmo days, which is exactly that. What I did was I was driving home from the gym one day, and I thought, why don't I just go try to get 5 companies that target very similar ICPs in the same room and have them all pitch a demo, and I will go out and get the registrants for them. So that's how it started, actually. And they could be competitive. They don't have to be. They just need to target the same personas at the same size companies. And then we've done 4 demo days. So we've actually done 4 of them. They've been extremely successful. We were driving anywhere from 250 to 260 registrants each demo day. And so now we just decided to take it from it. Like, we still do demo days. We have one on June 6th. We have one at the end of June. So, or June 5th. But we still do that exact idea. Demo days is kind of just like how it started. Now it's like, let's build this into something bigger, which is, I feel like what's lacking is like the ability to, because a demo day is one day. How do you go and evaluate and see demos on your own time whenever, is the idea of it. So just randomly thought of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do businesses pay to be on demo days?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's cool too, because it sounds like you're able to kind of test the idea before actually committing to anything. Because just doing one demo day is really just a validation of, is there any interest in this? And then once you did that, you're able to build a product behind it. Is that kind of what you're saying too? Just like these demo days have been like test runs and test run.
So yes, I actually never had the plan to build this into a full platform. My whole thing was, how do I go pay for my mortgage outside of my W-2 paycheck? And demo days can do that. The amount of revenue demo is generating just through demo days could pay for that and then some. But the whole idea was, I just told my wife, I was like, I just want our mortgage to be paid for. Like, I don't want, like, from LinkedIn posting, I just want our mortgage to be paid for, and then everything else is just kind of like fun money. So the idea was, let me just pay for my mortgage with this. But like you said, I tested it and it worked. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm charging too cheap. So then I upped the price for the second one, upped the price for the third one, upped the price for the fourth, and then the fifth. And now I'm realizing that it's just a real thing. And now I'm seeing that a lot of other communities are doing demo days. It's not like it's revolutionary. There's been demo days for years and years. It's not like a new thing. But I'm hoping that we made it popular. Like, I'm seeing Story Lane, Pavilion, Rev Genius, they're all doing their own demo day now, which is awesome because it drives more demand around the demo day idea. But hopefully I was able to spark some buzz behind it. I don't know. I don't want to take the credit, but it would be cool because I hate generating the demand all by myself.
That's incredible. Through your LinkedIn content, right? Like, you just post about it and get other companies to post about it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And then I do some automated I do definitely for demo. I do automated campaigns to get people to watch demo days because the ask is fairly simple. Hey, do you want to go see demos of technologies in your space, like, for free? Right. So it's like, I'm not selling anything to anybody that wants to go register and watch them. So it's a pretty easy ask to automate that process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one thing I know a lot of people that like listen to the podcast and people in my situation are curious about is, how do you manage your time? Obviously, like, you're an enterprise rep, you're posting on LinkedIn. I know that you have a family, all this stuff. Like, how do you manage to try and be purposeful of all the different things you're managing?
You don't. And so I would say you absolutely can. And I would say there are definitely certain types of businesses. Like, if I just did demo days only, it'd be so easy to run that on the side, to be honest. When you're starting to build out more of like a platform kind of play, it's a lot of time. And so that's why I had to sell referral, because I didn't have the time. So I noticed that I didn't have the time. But how I'm managing it now is, every morning I wake up and this is so dumb. This sounds like your Mark Wahlberg stuff, and it's not meant to be. But I do wake up at 4 every morning, but I've done that for like 7 years, to where I just go and I go to the gym, I work out, I get home, and then I start my morning and things like that. But now I switched up, kind of like sacrifices. I switched up how I did my workouts. So I only do workouts 3 days a week, and then I go run the rest of the days in the afternoon. But then that gives me the other 4 days to still wake up at the same time. But now I'm just working on demo from like 4 to 7:30. And then I go and wake up my kid, and then I do that. And then at like lunchtime, I'll do some demo stuff. And then at night, especially now that we're gearing up for launch, I've noticed like every night I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and I'm doing it. But like, it's just a little bit of like sacrificing, right? Like, I'm going to sacrifice my sleep right now. I get 6-7 hours, which I think is decent enough. I get 6-7 hours of sleep. Like, I think that's fine. But then you also have to have like a supportive environment around you. Like my wife, while it drives her crazy, it's also like she's very supportive of it. Like, I believe in you. This idea is doing much better than all your other ones. Like, just go with it, right? So you got to give up something somewhere, in my opinion, especially if you want to run something on the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's cool that you've been able to iterate and grow on each one, and especially moving into your third one. I feel like I've had a lot of people on who, especially when you're starting a business, it just grows each failure. And so right now, you guys are getting ready for launch. What's going to be the demo product? Because demo days are just events, but what's the actual product look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not even a product. I probably shouldn't say that. It's a
Okay.
website. Like it's really a website, or I guess you can call it a web application. It's not like a SaaS product where, you go and you integrate your tools and things like that's just not what it is. It's literally like if you go to YouTube, but instead you just have technologies that you can choose from and click through. And as soon as you click it, you can watch their demos, read about them, all that good stuff, what their ICP is, what their features are. That's what demo is. And probably before this is out, it'll be live. I have no idea, but it'll be live in 5 days. Yeah, it's a website, but I like to say web application.
Okay, that would be exciting. Because I know that you've worked with like a lot of bigger companies too. Because you have Sendoso, you have some bigger companies that are coming on and doing it, and I imagine that they're really attracted at seeing what could go further. I guess one question I was curious to ask you as well is obviously there's a lot of buzz right now about outbound being dead. And I'm curious how you look at that hot topic as well as how you see this playing into it.
I don't think outbound's dead at all, but I do agree that it's harder than ever. It'll only get harder, I think. But I don't think it's dead whatsoever. Now, how I see demo playing into it is my whole thing was, so if you're a sales rep and you get leads, you're going to complain about 90% of the leads that come inbound. You're going to just say they're crap. You're going to say they're not in the market to buy, even if you did a bad job at discovery, things like that. Like, you're always going to find some excuse to say that the leads suck, right? So my whole thing about demo was, how can I get people to evaluate technology and come inbound after seeing that, hey, their product looks like it can serve my use case. So now when they come inbound, they already know, like, hey, I know you can solve my problems. Now pretty much discover me, right? Like, make sure that you can quantify that this can solve my use case. So I'm hoping that it gives sellers more qualified and more warm leads. That's definitely my hope for it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, outbound's not dead. And I hope that once we get further into the data and all the data that we can unpack, that we can have intent that actually works. That's the whole goal, is some pretty good intent of, hey, what companies and stuff are watching your demo, your competitors' demos, all that stuff. So
Yeah, I think the outbound is dead topic is super interesting, and I feel like everyone has a super different opinion on it. I guess my take is that I think outbound that was done 3 or 4 years ago isn't necessarily what's going to work going
yeah,
forward, and that's what I think they're trying to say when you hear like Scott Leese or Brendan Cassidy. I feel
yeah,
like that's what they're trying to say, but I don't know if there's
yeah,
like a different connotation or a different message that's being shared on LinkedIn, because I think tools like this or AI automation tools are going to just make it better for sales reps so that they can be more efficient. I also don't think we'll need as many sales reps in the future if you can only get high quality leads doing certain activities.
yeah. And I could touch on that. I do think not even the traditional, the 2018 to 2022 outbound is dead, where it's like sales loft outreach, things like that. Kind of. I actually also have this intuition that there's just going to be smarter tools that will be built that will still allow you to spam it, bulk emails. But again, the reply rates will always be in the toilet. I don't think that like sending 3,000 emails is going to have a high reply rate at any time. Maybe, but Clay looks like, I don't know. Everyone's talking about Clay. There's so much hype around Clay and how it can personalize at scale and all this stuff. So we'll see. But also, I think the bigger picture of AI is definitely going to weed out SDRs to a decent extent. That's one. And then what you kind of said is you don't need as many sales reps. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day about Dimmo. And I was like, to be honest, I can get like almost every startup and SMB on the platform, and even mid-market company, but it's those really complex 50,000, 100,000 like person companies that you're selling to. Those are the ones that are always going to be there, because AI is not going to like do all the navigation for you and get 20 different people on a call, and like it's just not going to do all that. But I do think that your PLG motion companies, maybe they don't need that many sales reps. Maybe it is just, hey, let's just let our product and marketing sell itself. And so yeah, I do agree that there might not be the need for the volume of sales reps that we have today.
Is Dimmo going to cater more to tech companies, or could you also see it just catering to any small business?
SaaS only, at least
All
now.
right.
The vision right now is purely just SaaS.
Okay, that's a good niche because that's really where your audience is.
So we're only starting with MarTech, Sales Tech, and RevOps Tech, because that's also where my audience is on LinkedIn. But just SaaS. I don't like, when I think of another small business, I'll think of like a tire shop or something, and I don't see a reason for that. I don't know what else would be a small business that's not SaaS that would want their demo on the site, So, but yeah, SaaS.
Yeah, that's good. I guess another thing I noticed is I feel like a lot of your work, or even the things you've built, revolve around content and brand building. What do you think are some like the important things there?
So I didn't know how important and influential brand building was when it comes to building something on the side. And honestly, I think these days I care less about the company brand and more about the who's running the company kind of thing. So like someone that's very controversial right now, Adam Robinson over at RB2B. I don't know if you followed all that stuff, but I think he is a mastermind marketer. I think he's a genius. People can hate me for saying that, but he knows how to catch eyeballs and get people to talk about him. And I think that's, when it comes to brand, I'm kind of looking at like, especially startups or side gigs. Like I'm looking at who is creating it and like what kind of opinions they have and how are they like running their business and stuff like that. But when it comes to like, again, I'm talking about side gigs here specifically. When it comes to like side gigs, I think the brand falls on the person, not on the actual company. Like you don't have enough time and energy to also run a company brand and your own brand and stuff like that. And that's one thing I wish I did sooner, was start building my LinkedIn brand. Like that's the only thing that I wish I could have changed about LinkedIn, is starting 1 or 2 years earlier.
Hmm. What do you think you would have done if you started earlier?
Same thing. Same thing that I'm doing today, but I would hopefully just have like 3 or 4x the audience. I feel like once you hit a certain number, and like people say followers are just vanity metrics, but that's BS. Like people care about that. I care about that. Like that's kind of how I measure my success on LinkedIn, I guess you could say. Like at the end of the day, I think that, yeah, it's a vanity metric, but it shows that you're going in the right direction. And so I just think that once you hit a certain amount, your opportunities just expand so much more. And so it would have been nice to start a little bit earlier as well, because right now I only have 9 large enterprise accounts. And like, so I can only talk about so many things before I start recycling things. But I feel like if I had a wide territory, like a lot of these people do that follow my content, I feel like I'd be able to resonate more. I'd be able to post more about like meetings that I'm booking and how I'm getting creative to book meetings and stuff like that. So I wish I started posting a little bit earlier to be more relevant, but regardless, it seems like it's working for people, my messaging. So I'm hoping that I can continue to deliver on that.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, the audience that you've grown is great because it's just free advertising, which is the nice thing with social media and building that brand, is that, you post about marketing or sales 80% of the time, but the 1% of the time that you have a call to action, you're able to attract, you know, hundreds of thousands of impressions. It's all directed towards your business that drives revenue.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And so I know that you like big into the side hustle stuff. I know that you obviously like have a full-time sales job. Is there ever a point where, or like, I guess, what point would you decide to go full-time on your business versus just doing it as a side hustle?
Yeah. I love this question. I've been asked this question a couple of times. When I can pay myself what I make, to be honest, I'm not really risk adverse too much. I definitely like taking risk, but I'm careful with the risk that I do take, and that's conflicting. But I would say like once I see either I can pay myself as much as I'm making now when it comes to my base, like I can ditch the commissions. That's fine. I don't put my commissions into my budgeting. So once I can do that, pay myself, or if the trajectory of the company is just like a hockey stick and it's like, dude, it's growing so fast, like the revenue numbers just keep going up, I would then say, you know what, give me 6 months. Like tell my wife, just give me 6 months. I know that like she's a social worker, so her salary doesn't do much for us, but and bless their hearts, they are overworked and underappreciated. But yeah, I would say like give me 6 months. Like let me trust my gut for 6 months and see how long and how big I can take this. So yeah, I would say that then it's when I can pay myself the amount that I'm making now, or if it's just like a hockey stick growth and there's clear opportunity to keep on growing.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Before I let you go, I think a really fun question to ask is if you had to start a business today with less than $1,000, not doing what you're doing now, what would you start?
Some sort of, probably two things. Some sort of a GT or a GPT wrapper. So essentially just putting a pretty interface on ChatGPT. And I think one of them would be an event marketing. So like an event marketer would go and, hey, we're going to do an event in Austin and we're going to expect to have 200 people. And so we need a food, we need a venue, we need all this. Like, here's my budget, here's the date, here's how many people we expect. And it automatically delivers you the itinerary based on like what ChatGPT puts in and what it pulls from TripAdvisor's API and things like that. Like that can be very cheap to build, to be honest. So that's one. So you can literally plan out your entire year of events without having to go and research anything. The other thing is services based, because it'd be pretty cheap. And it would be almost just like Salesforce hygiene. Go outsource some people offshore and go out and prospect people saying, hey, we can build reports for you. We can clean up your duplicate contacts, all that stuff. And then when you get a deal in, like you're essentially getting money before you go and pay these people. So I think I would do that as well. It's like, hey, let's go clean up your Salesforce and spin up all the reports that you want. They give you the money. I go pay people offshore, and then they would create it, and then you just take a little bit of cut off the top. So those are the two things that I've been thinking about. I just don't have the time to do it.
That's awesome. I feel like there's a lot of GPT wrappers right now that people are spinning up, just anything they can plug into it. It's almost kind of like a .com thing where any business with a .com was going off. Really right now, anything that you can plug into GPT, you can build a business around.
It's crazy. And you can just, yeah, you can. It can make so much money off of a GPT wrapper. So much.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for being on, Troy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, of course. Thank you so much for having me.